And the question, the title anyway, is Should We Seek Answers to Ego Questions? I don't remember this at all, so we'll just read it and see what it is. I guess I'd read in the course or somewhere that only the ego asks questions. I guess that's what probably started this. Or maybe somebody said that to me, only the ego asks questions. So here I come. Holy Spirit, if only the ego questions, how much clarity shall we seek? When is it helpful to ask for understanding? And when is it helpful to accept that we do not know? And that's a good question. That's a very, very good question, because it does seem like sometimes we can over-desire intellectual understanding. Over-desire intellectual understanding. And so the question is, just how far do we go with trying to have intellectual understanding? And here's the answer. Questioning will seem to come to you in two different forms. The question of defense is not helpful. It is a question that comes from the desire to protect the ego and to keep perception as it is. At times, a question of defense may seem obvious, as you will feel the defensiveness or fear within the question. Be alert to these feelings when you are tempted to ask a question. And if you notice them within you, be willing to let the question go. And gosh, I wish I could remember specifics right now, because I know that in the last several months since I've been with Laurent, there have been questions that have come up where Holy Spirit has said, let that question go. That was his answer. Let that question go. Right now, I can't remember what they were. If I could, I would share them with you. Maybe I'll be able to find a couple of them later and maybe post them on the Peace of God as examples. But literally, the question was coming from a place in the mind that even in asking the question, we were teaching ourselves fear, or we were teaching ourselves that we were little. The Holy Spirit was very clear. It's best just not to even ask that question. Be willing to let the question go. Because in being willing to let the question go, we are trusting, we are teaching ourselves that we are not little. So this is the kind of thing he's talking about. And I'll see if I can find some specific examples. I know I have them in my notebook, and I think it might be helpful. But again, he says if the question is a question that let me go back a sentence. Be alert to these feelings when you are tempted to ask a question. And if you notice them within you, be willing to let the question go. If the question is a question that needs to be answered for you, it will come back at another time when you are ready for the answer. To ask the question before you are ready is not helpful, for you will not hear the answer. A question is helpful when you are willing to let the answer lead you from the ego. This is a question of forgiveness, for it comes from the desire for forgiveness within you. If you are fully ready for the answer will make sense to you, and a shift in perception will occur. If you are not fully ready for the answer, but you are willing, the answer will be given and accepted, and the shift will occur when your readiness has been realized. So, again, he's saying that some questions that come from the ego, first of all questions do come from the ego. All questions come from the ego. But some of the questions come from the ego in a desire to keep the ego, in a desire maybe to prove myself right, for example, in a desire to maintain my current thought system, as an example. But again, I have some other examples which I'll see if I can find that might be better. But some questions come from the desire to let go of the ego, from a willingness to understand and let go. And those are the types of questions that are helpful to ask. And those are the types of questions that are helpful to get answers to. So this is something we can look at not only when we're asking questions of the Holy Spirit, but even when, like we're in ACIM Gather and we're asking questions of each other. We can stop and ask, where is my question coming from? Is my question truly coming from my desire to see more clearly and let go of the ego? Or is my question coming from a desire to be right, for example. A desire to prove that my interpretation is right and somebody else's interpretation is wrong. Is that really what's behind my asking? And if so, then what the Holy Spirit is recommending in this message is that we would let go of that asking. Because even in asking the question, we are holding on to the ego. So yeah, as Dave the Wave is saying, it's the intent. So before we ask a question, it's really helpful to say, what is my purpose? Just like with everything else, questions are no different. What is my purpose? Why am I asking this question? Is it coming out of a true willingness to let go of the ego? And if so, go for it. If not, let go of the question. And that is Wednesday, July 27th. So I'll let go of the mic and see if anybody has anything before we move up to Wednesday, July 27th. It looks like before we move up to a later time on the same day.